Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing. We've got a special interview episode tonight. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan. And I'm Andrew.
And tonight we're welcoming to the show host of Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth. We got Mad Mark joining us today. Mad Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me be here. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
I've got to tell you a little tidbit of how we found you. Probably like a month ago, a couple people started sending your reels over to us to be like, you got to get this guy in the show.
Oh, really?
And I
YouTube
saw it.
Reels?
Yeah, on Instagram. And so
YouTube.
I would see it and I'd go,
okay.
oh, this guy's awesome. And so I'd watch it. And then, I saw you. I was like, looked at your Instagram, impressed the following. You're doing some good work there. And I was like, oh, you know what? We'll reach out. I'll reach out eventually. And then a couple more people the last couple weeks sent one. And then one of our longtime listeners who always talks shit. He's always
shit disturber.
Shit
Complete
disturber.
Another shit disturber.
I like the one guy. I like the mongoose hat there. That's awesome. That is really cool.
Thank you.
I need a hat like that.
Absolutely.
But he sent it to us, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out today. And I reached out, and you got back to me within like an hour. I was like, oh, man. I was like, that was one of the easier guest books of all time.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you think I'm doing good on Instagram, you ought to see my Facebook. We're almost up to 100,000 on there.
Whoa.
What's the secret?
Yeah, it's just kicking ass.
Teach us.
And I got a new show coming out. I post a new show every 2 weeks. It's not a weekly. There's no way I can by myself do a weekly show. But I got a new one coming out this Saturday that is just going to, I think all my numbers are going to double. It's a real powerhouse episode coming up.
Hell yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, my numbers ever since around the 1st of November last year have just exploded. It's just been incredible, way beyond my wildest dreams.
Now, how did you get into this? How did you get interested in like Anunnaki and ancient alien theory? How did you get involved?
It all started when I was about 10 years old in a little town called Highland, Illinois, which is about 45 miles to the northeast of St. Louis, Missouri. We were sitting down to dinner one night. As I said, I was about 10. My brother was 6 and my sister was 2, I guess, at that time. And we heard this weird noise outside. And it was kind of like a siren, but not exactly, kind of a whirring siren noise. My parents assumed it was a ambulance or a police car. And having grown up in St. Louis, because that's where we were from originally, they've seen more than their share of police cars and fire trucks and all that sort of thing. So they weren't at all interested. But being that I was a 10-year-old boy, I wanted to see it. So I ran outside onto the back porch. Nobody else left the table, just me. I get outside and I'm how your brain kind of follows the sound. So I get out there and I'm like, and here we had this big tree in the backyard that separated our property from the next door neighbors. And right above this big tree, just sitting there, was this UFO. Now, when I was a kid, I was a very weak kid. I was not very strong. I could not have done it then. But if I was in that same situation now, I was so close, I could have easily thrown a rock and hit it. That's how close I was to this. Wow. I got a real up close and personal look at this craft. And I know what I saw. Okay. And back then in the 60s, it was, swamp gas. Venus, the planet.
China lantern.
Kiss my ass. I know what I saw. It wasn't swamp gas and it wasn't the planet. This was a craft with the lights and it just hovering above this tree. And it stayed there for maybe 7 seconds. And then it was like when it went away, it made a ripple in the atmosphere. So you could see which direction it went, but it was gone. I mean, it was just like, and it was just gone. Now, there's no way that we had craft that could do that kind of stuff in 1969. I'm sorry.
We still don't.
No, I know what I saw. Yeah. And that got me going on all of it. And then once we moved up to Minnesota in 72, that was right around the time that, Eric Von Daniken came out with the Chariots of the Gods films. And I went by myself. All my friends thought I was a lunatic. We have no interest in that. So I went by myself, saw those movies, and it just changed my life. You know, I had always been the type, I was raised a Christian. We Bible school every Sunday, all this. But I was always the type, I was from Missouri. You have to show me. Don't just tell me something and expect me to believe it. I need proof. Yeah. And I was the kind of kid in Sunday school that would always be asking the questions. Well, why is God one time he's all pissed off, and the next time he's lovey-dovey, and then one time he says this, and the next time he changes his mind and said that, and the only response I ever got was, the Lord works in strange ways. You just have to believe. And as a little kid, I'm thinking, bullshit. Something's wrong with this story, okay? So when I discovered the whole thing in the 80s with Zecharia Sitchin and the Anunnaki, that just changed my life, because every question I ever had about why the Torah or the first 6 books of the Old Testament make absolutely no sense the way they're written. Once I discovered what was really going on and read the original stories in the Sumerian texts from thousands of years earlier, told the correct way, it all falls in place and it all makes sense. So from that point on, I was hooked, and that was it.
Boom. I mean, because the Anunnaki are one of, must have been one of our first case files, like maybe 20 in or something. We got onto the Anunnaki, we're talking about Nibiru, and they come. So we're familiar with all the names, but the actual like history, because this was last week preparing for the talk with you, I was listening to Anunnaki Connection and all these other Anunnaki shows, and it is so much deeper, like the lore.
It's immensely deep. Yeah, there's no way you can even cover it. If you had a show that lasted 6 hours, you couldn't cover the whole thing.
Because it's like Zecharia Sitchin's work covers like 7 books, 12. I think that he's
12
like
books.
12 books, 12 of his, and then
he has a few more after that where he basically rehashes everything from the 12 books. So I mean, I can keep my show going. Last year was year 1 for my program. Before that, as I mentioned before we went on the air, I was doing a comedy show with toys and stuff called Mad Mark and Maynard Show. But anyway, this show I've been doing for a year now, and last year I only covered 2 of his books, which means I could keep this going for at least another 6 years. So.
Well, yeah, and it's a huge topic, and not only that, it's like it's. I mean, you can kind of get personal and anecdotal with a lot of it too, and like tie into current events and
well, right, and I do that, and I also do, as I said before we went on the air, I also have shows where I deal with raising your consciousness, because that's something that I'm very into. For the last 6 years, I've been on that path, and we do shows on. I got a show coming up on Saturday here now, a brand new episode where we delve into why are humans so into all of their ridiculous labels. I mean, it is just absolutely ridiculous how many labels we like to pile on ourselves throughout our lives. And that whole show is going to look into that whole thing. So
now, for people who are not familiar with the Anunnaki, I know it's such a broad subject, but can we let's go like a quick backstory of the Anunnaki through your findings, reading Zecharia Sitchin, because we've talked about it, but we're dummies. We really don't know anything.
Well, you know, I don't blame. I don't call yourself dummies. Okay, there is so much, as you said.
I would like to use the R word, but I'll refrain.
Incredibly huge. I mean, every aspect. They're still here. Every aspect of our lives, they've touched in some way or another. Our government, everything. I mean, people always talk about, the president and Congress and everything. They're not the ones really running the show. There's a shadow government behind the scenes that's really running everything. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And they're called the Anunnaki. They have been running this planet since day one. They created us. They never left. They've been running the show the whole damn time. It's really fascinating when you really delve into it.
So let's start with that then, because that's all what it is. The humans, we don't fit the evolution timeline. We seem to pop out of nowhere. And the theory about the Anunnaki, the ancient astronaut, they came here from their
450,000 years ago.
Right, their planet was Nibiru. For whatever reason, their atmosphere was poisoned or failing.
No, it was deteriorating. They are extremely warrior species. Okay, they fight amongst each other all the time. That's just the way they are. They're very similar to humans, in fact, looks and everything else, but they also have differences. And one of them is, well, of course, humans are rather warrior-like too, but these guys take it to the next level. I mean, they just constantly fight. Well, they had a lot of nuclear battles on their planet, and because of that, they started their atmosphere began to deteriorate. And they could, that was going to be the end of their species if they didn't do something to fix it. So they tried, the first attempt was they have a very volcanic planet. It's like 10 times the size of Earth, and it's full of volcanoes, and they feed the atmosphere. The volcanoes do. So their first theory was, well, maybe what we should do is set off like atomic weapons in the volcanoes to make them spurt more often, because they noticed that they were not erupting as often as they had been, and they thought that was the problem. Well, that didn't work. That just caused a whole new ball of wax problems. So they came up with the idea, their scientists said, well, if we could somehow suspend really finely ground gold particles up into the atmosphere, it would act like a fake shield that would hold our atmosphere in. Problem is, there was no gold on Nibiru. So where are we? They only knew of one place in their creation story of the way the solar system was created way, way, way back. The only place where there was gold in our solar system was a planet called Tiamat. Okay, and Tiamat sat where the asteroid belt sits now. And when Nibiru, it has an extremely elongated orbit. Ours is more circular around the moon. Theirs is like way out and way in and way out. So
isn't it like tens of thousands of years?
3,600 year cycle for them to make
years,
one. Yeah. It's called a shar. One orbit around, they call it a shar. Takes 3,600 years. Well, on one of these passes, way back before even they were up to the, what's the word I'm looking for? Before they were intelligent species, when all these planets were originally being created, way back when, on one of the passes of Nibiru, it has a bunch of moons around it and everything else. Well, one of these moons crashed into Tiamat and blew it into two parts, okay? One part became the asteroid belt. Scientists to this day, we have no idea what created the asteroid belt. Well, we do now know. We now know. We know. Because it was that collision. We know. Half of it created the asteroid belt. The other half got pushed one rotation past Mars into where it is now, and that became the Earth. And that's how that all fell into place. So they knew that there had been gold on Tiamat, which was now the asteroid belt. So that was their first choice. We'll go mine asteroids and get the gold. So they tried that. Every time they tried it, their ships would get smashed into by the other asteroids, and it didn't work. So the only other option that they had was to come to Earth, which again was difficult because they had to go through the asteroid belt every time they want to come here. But they figured out a way to do it. It's a long story. I'm not going to go into all that unless you want me to. But they figured out a way to get through, and they started coming here. They found the gold, and they've been here ever since. What happened was their own people were the miners for the first several. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but several thousand years. And then the workers revolted. And they said, we're not doing this anymore. Those workers are called
the Agogi or something? Or
EGG. Yeah, IGIGI. Yeah. And they had a way station on Mars. And what they would do is they would mine the gold, load it onto these ships, ship it to the way station on Mars where it would be refined and ground into the fine gold powder that they needed. And then from there, it would ship to Nibiru. And now I can't remember where I was going with that. What was I talking about?
No, they revolted. The workers revolted.
The workers revolted. And so Enki, who was one of the two main brothers involved, the royalty, the two heirs to the throne were Enki and Enlil. Enki was the great scientist, and he came up with this idea, hey, the creature the creature we need to do our work for us, it already exists on this planet. We just need to give it some smarts. It's too stupid to know how to do what we need it to do and follow instructions. So they took their DNA, mixed it with Homo erectus, and boom, humans were created. and that is how we got here.
Now, like, do we know from what I was reading? So they essentially like artificially inseminated, like a hominid human, and which is really reminiscent of like the immaculate conception, right? Like it's
right. The first humans were like mules. They were hybrids. They could not reproduce. So every time they needed a new human, they had to bring in an Anunnaki birth mother and take their mixture that he came up with, the genetic code, and impregnate the Anunnaki female, and then she'd have to, and it just got to be a massive pain in the ass. And that ended up leading to the story in the Bible, which is completely wrong, but what actually happened at the Garden of Eden, which was the Eden, EDIN facility. It was a human research and development laboratory. And that is where they started making humans who could reproduce. What happened was, Enlil was he ran the whole show here on planet Earth. He was the top dog. You wanted to get anything done, you had to go through him. And Enlil, his half-brother, basically hated Enlil, or Enki, his half-brother, I should say. Enki did not like Enlil. The two of them were constantly at odds. And he decided to go behind Enlil's back and go ahead and give humans the ability to procreate. And that's what happened. That whole story about, the knowing and the snake and
well, it even parallels the story of like Cain and Abel, the brothers that don't like each other. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Well,
right.
It's not that the one was jealous.
That's what happened in the Garden of Eden. So now you know that true story.
So they take Homo erectus, mix their Anunnaki DNA, Homo sapiens pop out.
Yep.
So like Neanderthals and all the other hominids were here, but they chose.
Those were all failed. No, those were all failed attempts.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
I'm simplifying this whole thing, but we're talking. This all happened over a period of literally thousands of years.
Oh, so we're talking like
so many times to make this.
We're like Mark 400.
Yeah. They tried. I don't know how many times to get it right.
So all the other hominids then are like an offshoot, failed experiments of a pre-hominid, like pretty much an ape then.
Which also includes
until they got it right. When they finally got the right person that they wanted, that was the Adamu, which is where Adam comes from.
Yeah.
In the perfect human was the Adamu.
I can't be the only person that's thought that us as a species, we live in our houses, we have all this infrastructure and stuff, but it's like you drop me in the woods naked, I'm dead.
You're toast.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't really survive anywhere. My skin's brittle. If I'm walking, I'm getting cut. I'm prone to infection if I'm getting cut. Yes, I'm resilient, but it feels like that there is no real safe space on Earth where you can just be free and naked.
Ask yourself this. Why are so many of us, including myself, so allergic to all these plants and things on our own freaking planet? It makes no sense. That should never have happened. The reason we have crap like that is because of the Anunnaki DNA. You would not believe the problems that they had coming here. I mean, for one thing, they couldn't get used to the short days and nights. That just threw them for a loop. They couldn't deal with that. Oh, my God, the days are so damn short on this planet. It's day and then it's night, and then it's day and then it's night. They couldn't deal with that. But that was just the beginning of it. We had different animals here than they had. We had different plant life here than they had. We had so many different things that it took them forever to get used to.
Well, that was that was a question I had too. Okay, I'll go first, Andrew. My question was, so if they could live on Earth, that means Nibiru must have been a similar makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Oxygen and carbon.
Well, you see, again, it all goes back to that collision when Tiamat got slammed into.
Right.
And half of it became the asteroid belt and the other half became Earth. At that same time, a lot of Earth's and their own planets, you can imagine a collision this size. There was a lot of shit going on in space at that time when that happened. DNA got swapped. So in other words, the Anunnaki are several thousand, I don't know if it's 400,000 or 500,000 years ahead of us, time-wise, as beings created. But, now I forgot where I was going with that.
How we're so similar, how they could live here.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We are cousins. They're way ahead of us, but we're cousins. The DNA is basically the same on both. Like I said, there's different plants and animals and things like that, but the DNA structure of the things on their planet is extremely close to ours, which is why Enki knew he could make this work when he was trying to create humans. He said, this is not going to be that big a deal because their structure is basically us 5,000 years ago.
Well, and to that argument, if people are like, well, that doesn't make, different planets, it's like, well, we look at, like now, before it seemed rare that there'd be an Earth-like planet out there, and now we're finding planets in the Goldilocks zone everywhere.
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
Absolutely.
So we're
Everywhere
like,
we look.
and now it's just narrowing down like what could possibly work. So if you had like an advanced race that had already done that, they're like, yeah, there's also one here that would work for us. Like, if it's all the same.
If we didn't have laws to prevent it, we could create people. We could create all kinds of
they're doing
weird
it in
things,
China.
but there's laws against it.
I just seen Jim Carrey look nothing like Jim Carrey. So
that's true. Yeah.
No, and then just to in there now, did the Anunnaki, because you obviously made it clear that they had access to higher genetic manipulation technology and things like this. Did they have some kind of aversion to AI or something like that? Was there a reason?
Yeah, there was. They were afraid of it. They said if we create a AI that reaches a certain level of intelligence, it could backfire and take us over. So they said that is a last resort. They did have robots, but not very many. They did not like to really do a lot of stuff with robots because they didn't trust them. Is that eventually they could get powerful enough and say, we don't need you anymore, Like,
did they have their own? Did they have their own
movies.
worker? Did they have like a caste system or a class system? Because you said they had workers, like they were doing the work before.
Well, you had there was a king of Nibiru. His name is there were several kings, but the one that we're talking about was Anu. He had two sons, Enki and Enlil. Those are the two who came down here to Earth. So you have your royal family, just like any country that has a king and a queen and all that. You have your royal family, and then the next class down and the next class down. And, well, these were the working class that they brought here to do the mining.
It's so weird to think that kings on Earth might be just people trying to recreate.
I got news for you. Every king that's ever been, going back as far as you want, they were all put in place by the Anunnaki. They are hereditarily their descendants. You see, the Anunnaki are not only warrior people, but they're extremely horny. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. They will screw pretty much anything that moves.
I think that's proven with Prince Philip.
and that was what the whole Great Flood deal was about. You read it in the Bible and it makes no sense. Why would God destroy? I mean, none of it makes any sense at all. But what happened was
Nephilim, right?
Well, I'll get to that. That's a biblical term. I don't even. That's not even in the Sumerian text. But what happened was, crap. Now I lost my train of thought again.
You're telling me you slept 8 hours straight last night?
Didn't wake up once. First time in like 8 years.
All right. What are these things?
They're called Sleepy Time Advanced Gummies from Moo.com.
So you just get high and go to sleep? THC's always made me weird, Nancy.
That's what I thought too. But it's not just THC, it's CBD and CBN too.
And it actually knocks you out?
Not like a pill where you feel drugged. It's more like your brain finally shuts up.
Wow. Nice. But what about the morning? Foggy, fuzzy, tired?
That's the thing. No grogginess. I wake up and I'm just awake.
And it's legal though?
100%. Totally federally legal, like 2018 Farm Bill legal.
Where do people get these?
Just search Sleepy Time Gummies on Mood.com and use the code ALIEN to get 20% off your first order.
Yeah, I need to try this. And if it doesn't work for me, can I get my money back?
Absolutely. They give you 100 days to try all their stuff.
Okay. I'm ordering these right now.
Do it and report back, good buddy.
What were we talking
We're
about?
talking about Great Flood.
Oh, yes, the Great Flood. What happened was, when they first came here, originally, 450,000 years ago, the Earth was still in its last ice age, okay? So it was ice at one end, ice at the bottom, top, and then in the middle was the only area where there was land and water and, whatever. And, crap. lost my train of thought again.
You're talking Great Flood. Great Flood. You were explaining.
Right. Okay.
poles.
So what happened was over the
Yeah.
thousands of years that they were here, the ice caps and all that began melting.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right. So I'm trying to get this all in place here because
No worries.
like I say, I don't have any cheat sheets in front of me, and this is such a vast story.
We don't want cheat sheets.
No. Okay. So what happened was our planet began to thaw, and their planet, by coincidence, just happened to be coming close enough to Earth at that particular time. Whenever it comes close to Earth, because it's so much bigger than we are, it's a massive pull on our Earth's gravitation. So their scientists figured out, hey, these ice caps are melting. Everything's getting slushy. It's getting kind of dangerous. The next time Nibiru comes by, if the pull is just in such a particular way, at that time there was a big ice sheet in the Antarctic, the South Pole. And it was weak. And they said when our planet comes back around, if it hits it just right, that whole damn thing is going to crack right off and fall into the ocean. If that happens, it's going to cause a devastating flood over our whole region of the planet. Everything we've worked so hard to build is going to be wiped out. Well, when Enlil found out about that, he said, good, I don't want them damn humans. That's why in the Bible story, you got these, it sounds like God's got, separation anxiety, or he's arguing with himself because one minute he wants them dead, next minute, oh no, I got to save some. So Enlil decides, wipe them out. I want them all gone. We never should have created them. It's been nothing but a pain in the ass. I want to start from scratch again. We're going to let them all die. Well, Enki, who created us, could not allow that to happen. So that's when he went behind Enlil's back and saved some people. And that's what his actual name was Ziasudra, and they turned him into Noah in the Bible. But yeah, he gets saved, but that's how you have that whole thing in the Bible. You read it, it doesn't make any sense. One minute, oh, let them all die. Next minute, oh no, we got to save. That's because there were two different people involved in that conversation.
Well, it's interesting
because when you read it in the actual Sumerian, it makes perfect sense.
It's not just the Bible,
and you think this God's nuts. He's got multiple personalities. He don't know what the hell he's doing. But when you read the actual story, it makes all perfect sense.
It's not just the Bible that has a massive flood story like this either. Like every single major religion has a great flood story.
Yeah, it came up from Antarctic when that thing cracked off and that iceberg cracked off. And it sent a tidal wave right up Africa and the Middle East, that whole area. It just went up and wiped it. It wasn't a worldwide flood, but it was definitely a southern hemisphere flood.
Well, because we've talked about it before too on our show. But like Gobekli Tepe being where it is, like so way above sea level, like no real source of water, and it like. Based on modern science, it seems to be the birthplace of agriculture, and you're just like, and they just backfilled everything.
That whole Gobekli Tepe is Anunnaki. That whole thing was built by them. That wasn't human beings. That's another question I always had as a kid, especially after seeing Chariots of the Gods. We've got all these buildings all over the world that humans, at the time those buildings were built, did not have the technology to build. So who built that?
Survive.
Yeah, they were out there still with sticks and stones, and yeah, they didn't have that. We're talking like 2 generations after the first human was created. There's no way that before you can build a structure like a lot of those structures, you have to. If you're an architect, you're aware that all has to be planned out. Everything's got to be measured. You've got to have schematics. You've got to have all this stuff. They couldn't. There's no way they could have done it. So, the way that those bricks fit together so perfect, you can't even get a piece of paper in between them. And no mortar. No mortar, just stacked. And how did they transport them and cut them? There's no way. Those buildings are all Anunnaki.
How did they do it? That's a question.
It was all Anunnaki. Humans didn't do it. That's what I'm saying. No, but they were so far ahead of us technologically. Lasers, they cut it with lasers, a lot of it. They had the ability to lift without, what do you call that, when you can just use They use
Telepathy?
different tones,
Telekinetic.
different
Mental
sounds to
telepathy.
raise
Sonic
heavy
frequency
objects up. They
technology.
didn't need to have a big
Telekinesis.
machine come and, their technology is so far ahead of us.
It's magic. To us.
We are, that's what it looks like. It does, because when you don't understand something right away, magic, and of course they masqueraded around as gods, and the humans went along with it because, they created us. They must be gods.
Well, not all.
And a lot of those mega structures, or those megalithic structures, like they served, as far as the Anunnaki concerned, they served a lot of functional purposes. Like I think, was it ziggurats or spaceports, or places
they
for
had
tethering
spaceports,
ships
they had
or such.
temple. They're all kinds of the pyramids. Everybody always talks about the pyramids. The pyramids were built. Okay. Before the Great Flood, their spaceport was in Mesopotamia, because that was their base of operations, was
Cradle
the
of
whole
civilization.
Iran, Iraq, Sumer area. After the Great Flood, most of that all got wiped out, so they had to start all over again. So the new spaceport was built several miles to the south of there, kind of equal to horizontal to where Jerusalem and Israel is right now. And they had everything laid out. Originally, they used Mount Ararat as their signal for the craft from Nibiru coming to Earth. They always said, look for those two twin peaks. That will let you know where you come. You follow that line in, and there you'll land at our spaceport, okay? When that all got wiped out, they needed a new twin peaks because that was gone. And they, in the area where they were around the Sinai Peninsula, where they decided to build all the new facilities, there was no twin peaks naturally. So they had to create twin mountains, and that was what the pyramids were. And they also, as long as they were going to have to build these two fake mountains, they decided to put different things inside of them for guidance, lights and lasers flashing, like the guy that stands out on the runway and does this crap. They built lights into the thing so that it could the ships could see it and find the landing strip and guidance. What I don't know all this airplane lingo, but whatever you need, that's what the pyramid was. It wasn't a tomb. It wasn't.
I always thought that pyramids were like Anunnaki built these pyramids or some type of like power device. That's why in my mind, that's what I always thought.
A lot of people thought that too. And if you're going to take the time to build something that massive, they probably did give it more than one job. They probably had, it does this and it does that and it does this, but its main purpose was to serve as a landmark and to have the beams coming out that would guide. I've got episodes about all this on my show.
Oh, it makes sense in a way.
That could be used to guide the ships in landing and taking off.
Well,
that's
Mad Mark, I don't know if you've ever been to any of the temples in South America, but we've been to Chichen Itza.
Oh, nice.
And we were there and we got a tour. And like, as we were walking the temple, there is, like, for lack of a better word, what
Landing
looks to be
pads.
landing
pads.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we even said
Absolutely.
to them, we said to the guy, we're like, that's for the aliens, right? And they're like,
Yeah, because they only serve a purpose if you're looking at them from the air.
yeah.
On the ground, it doesn't look like anything.
Looks
so
like
why would
unfinished
they have
pyramids.
built it? I mean, it makes no sense. You can only see it from the air. And down there, right near where the Nazca lines, is that, were you around that area too?
No, we were a little further north.
That was
than
in the
we were
Mayan and
Mexico.
Okay, because there's that area, the Nazca lines, where they shaved off an entire mountaintop.
Yep.
It's just flat. Humans couldn't have done that. That you need extensive equipment to do make a pull a move
we did
like
that with just a rock pickaxe.
Yeah,
and a
sure.
fucking
Yeah, they were out there
file.
with
Stone
Come
tools.
on. Tell me, I got a
entire
bridge for
mountaintop.
sale.
And
level.
building giant glyphs that can only be appreciated from above. No
Right.
big deal.
Right. I'm telling you, the deeper you go into this, it's just there's just no way this is not the truth.
It does
I mean,
really, like, when you look into this topic and you look into like the ancient astronaut theory and Anunnaki, it feels like something's there. Like, it truly, you feel like a gut feeling. You're like, I feel like there's a grain of truth here that is leading me to something.
I love that show, Ancient Aliens. But one thing that always aggravated me about and I have the utmost respect for all those guys, Giorgio
We don't.
and
We
all
don't.
of them.
Hold on. Giorgio pickpocketed our friend there,
He stole
Andrew.
his wallet.
Stole his wallet.
Yeah, he stole a wallet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, at Alien Con. We met him.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Wow.
We're not 100% sure,
But we are.
We took a picture with him, and then his wallet was gone. So I don't know what
Yeah.
happened.
Wow.
How? What are you supposed to think, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Hey, Anunnaki might have zapped it away on you. That maybe
And
they took it.
there's a reason he stole it, because you're supposed to pay $50 for a picture with him. And
Oh,
We did,
Is
yeah.
that really what he does?
Yeah.
$50?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it might have
he's,
been more, actually.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, I
either
love
way,
that show.
it's a great show.
But one thing that always bothered me, and it's this way on every episode, these guys know what's going on. Giorgio, all of them that were on that show, they all know the Anunnaki truth. But they also knew if they ever come out and said that on one of their shows, you just explain the whole why keep going with the shows. You don't need them anymore. You know the answer. Every show they did, it was always like, well, we're not 100% sure. We think there's a connection here to aliens, but
That's TV,
we don't
baby.
know.
That's
Because if
TV,
they had
baby.
ever come out and said, it's all Anunnaki crap, that would have been the end of the show. We just figured it out. We're done. And they had to keep it going. So they always had to act like, well, we're not sure. It's kind of weird, but, and they knew they know about all this. There's no way they don't know about it.
So, Mad Mark, my question to you is, because we've covered all sorts of kind of UFOlogy and stuff like that, is, because one of the big things that I'm personally interested is like the uptick in UFO events like after Roswell, right? And then as we come into the new
don't
World
you
Wars.
you don't know the connection there?
That's what I'm asking.
It was right after we dropped nukes on Japan.
Yeah.
That was like the red flag. Because see, way back when they brought their nukes here to Earth and they nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what that whole thing was about. And it was right after that event that they said, all right, you know what? If we keep going the way we're going, blowing shit up, we're going to destroy Earth just like we did our own damn planet. And then we're going to have the same problems here that we had there. We've got to pull back. And that's when they receded into the shadows and Marduk took over the planet basically and became the one true God that you read about in the Bible. That's all Marduk, who was the son of Enki. And yeah, it all makes sense.
Did they nuke Sodom and Gomorrah for just the rampant fornication and fucking rule breaking?
No, it had nothing to do with sin.
So why did they nuke it?
They nuked it because it was Marduk's base of operations, and all the other Anunnaki, even Marduk's own family, were against him. He was a super narcissist.
Shit.
He was kind of like a Hitler type guy. You do everything my way. Even Enlil, who was in charge when Marduk rose to power, he said, screw Enlil. You do what I say now. I'm the new top dog on Earth. Well, all the other Anunnaki were against him. He said, hey, bullshit. We all have our little areas here that we govern and we rule. We're not turning everything over to you. So they were all fighting back. And when they discovered that Marduk was doing most of his crap out of those two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where he was getting all his followers in there and telling them what to do. And here's how we're going to take over the earth and all that. They said, "The hell, we're dropping bombs on it. We're going to wipe him out." So
Marduk,
that's what that was all about. It had nothing to do with sin or none of that other crap that makes no sense. That's what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Marduk sounds an awful like Moloch.
Who?
Moloch.
I don't know.
We all know is pulling the strings.
Moloch, is that the fucking owl god?
No, that's the fucking bull. We're learning all about him now with all the files.
Oh, the
Moloch.
God, Moloch. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who
That's like a different pantheon of gods, though, right?
Well, I don't know. Marduk and Moloch sounds pretty fucking
of gods
similar.
is the Anunnaki.
It's based on the
going
Anunnaki?
by different names on different parts of the world. It's all them.
So like the Greek pantheon.
Zeus was Enlil. Yeah,
Right.
it's all the same. Amun-Ra is Marduk, going by a different name. Wherever they went by different names, but it's the same 12 people over and over and over and over again. Everywhere you look at every pantheon, no matter where it is, it's always 12 people. It's the same 12 people everywhere you go.
So,
Enlil,
Mad Mark,
Enki, Marduk, on and on and on.
what's your thoughts on we've done tons of case files and talked about events around UFOs kind of disrupting nuclear facilities, whether it be Malmstrom in the United States or Russians talking about their kind of nuclear facilities being interfered with. Is this kind of like the Anunnaki being like, you can't fire nukes? Like, we're not allowing you to kind of do this?
That's exactly what it is. Don't fuck around with nuclear weapons. That's what they're saying. We have the power anytime we want to come down and shut them all off. So they're totally worthless. Quit messing around with them. You'll never see another nuclear weapon set off on this planet.
And I mean,
you'll never see it because they will not allow that to happen.
We've theorized that about, is that like, because, there's been various presidential meetings with aliens and stuff like that.
Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower. And basically we've kind of theorized that like they've been told like no nukes and you can't. So it's like all this like posturing is like no one's firing nukes.
Okay, why do you think I don't watch the news anymore? Yeah. We just attacked so kiss my who gives
because my thing is like
it's all bullshit. It's a great big theatrical production.
100%. Because I feel like,
and you know why they do it?
Just fire one.
Do you know why they do all that crap? Because what do you do when you watch a show like that? When you turn on the news and see that kind of crap, what's the first reaction?
Get them.
Anger, fear. What is anger and fear? Two extremely low vibrationary
100%
vibration. You are lowering your vibration every time you get angry, every time you get fearful. They want us to be kept at a low vibration because
when I'm
when
angry,
you are
I
at a
vibrate
low
pretty
vibration,
much.
you're not realizing your true divine God power. So that is why every time you turn on a show, it's just keeping you down. I'm done. I don't watch the news. I don't watch anything that's depressing or that keeps me because I want my vibration up as high as I can have it 24 hours.
You just want to watch Alien Earth for the horror aspect. It's so good.
Because you can learn from that.
You can learn from that.
I love educational shows where you can learn something.
Okay, I had a quick question about the nukes. So if the Anunnaki had nukes on their planet, they had nukes here. They set off a couple. What was there like a rogue Anunnaki who taught humanity about the nuke, like Oppenheimer and that crew, or like how did we get the nuke and then how did we drop it before they intervened?
Did we find one?
Did we find one?
Did we reverse engineer a nuke?
No, I doubt it. I really do. I think we just figured it out. We're not stupid, a stupid species. We can learn and figure. I think that
we do carry their DNA.
I think they always knew that we would eventually get to that point. So that's why another reason why they never totally left the planet, because they still need gold. This is an ongoing thing for Nibiru. It's never going to be patched. It needs constant replenishing the gold. The last thing they can afford to do is have this planet get destroyed in a nuclear war.
So did they just kind of like part the workout now to like you fucking Middle Eastern dudes hanging around 7-Eleven in their Honda Civic being, buddy, I need gold. What do you want? Yeah, just give me $20 per ounce of gold, buddy. What do you want?
Anyone in the parking lot for cash for gold's Anunnaki.
Cash for gold, buddy. Number one good deal.
Ask yourself this. Why, I believe it was the 70s, did the United States go off of the gold standard?
That's a good question.
Where do you really think that gold is still sitting there in Fort Knox?
Hell
I got
no.
news for you. That shit is long
it's on
gone.
Nibiru.
Is there any gold left? It's all been ground down to monoatomic gold, isn't that the whole thing?
They don't advertise it. This is all below the belt, or lower, sneaky shit. But yeah, they still need it, and they're still taking it. And we're not powerful enough to stop them.
That's why they created Bitcoin.
This is
digital gold.
See, anything to get us away from the gold. Yeah,
this is actually like having this conversation has actually kind of sparked something in me. I'm like, okay. Because
I'm glad
we've talked about this. There's a point. If you haven't watched it, Mad Mark, the Bob Lazar interview with Joe Rogan, there's a single part in that interview where Bob Lazar mentions that the United States dug up a craft, excavated a craft, and then no one else talks about it. And we fixated on that. We're like, what the hell did you mean excavated?
What do you mean you excavated?
And then when we're talking about nukes and we're talking about that era of time where we're chasing, we had Hitler going after, he's looking for
He was in Antarctica.
He's in Antarctica.
I've got a whole show on that.
Right? He's going crazy. Part of me goes like, did we potentially dig up a nuke or some sort of nuclear bomb or some sort of nuclear site that we're like, oh shit, and we're just so good at reverse engineering things. Like we like you, if anything drops from anywhere, we're little tinkerers and we're like, all right, we'll figure this out. And part of me now wonders, I'm like, is that where we got the atomic bomb? Is like, did we dig this up?
Well, ask yourself this. Why was Hitler so fixated? And again, like I said, I just did a whole episode just before Christmas on this. Why was he so fixated with this Aryan race? That's all you ever heard of. And he sent people during World War II, when he should have been concentrating on the war, he sends guys all over the Middle East because he knew that there was some kind of a connection there. And he was trying to, of course, he had his own political agenda. If we can find what we're looking for, people will have to believe that we are the master race. So that's why he was looking. But he knew that there was a connection between the white race, the Aryan race, and these Anunnaki. He didn't know it was the Anunnaki, but he knew it was something in the Middle East. And that's why he had people all over that area digging crap up and looking all over these different sites and everything. The Anunnaki were white. I hate to shatter anybody's illusions about, there's a lot of black folks who think they were black. But I did a whole show on this. The Anunnaki were in fact white. Because when they created the first humans, they had a nickname for the first humans. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know.
Honky?
They were called the dark-headed ones. Now, if you are a black species and you create your own slave race who also is black, are you going to name them the dark-headed ones? I don't think so. The Anunnaki were white.
Well,
That's what Hitler was looking for all around the Middle East, was proof. He knew that there was a connection there to a white superior race that came from that area, but he just couldn't put the pieces together. We
got to give a caveat. The white superior race is technically not humans. It's from a different planet.
Right.
We're not saying
absolutely.
Nothing. Yeah, and if you're from a planet,
he knew there was a connection, but he missed the boat.
Dude,
because that race he was looking for was from another planet.
If you're from a planet that's whatever, like we call it Planet X or the 12th planet or whatever. Sitchin was the 12th planet, right? That's what we said. He counted like the moon and another planet as
right. Yeah. The 9 planets plus.
But if you're that far from the sun,
yeah,
you would be translucent to get every bit of sun ray you could.
Yeah, they don't hardly ever get any sun. They are as white as snow.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you would think at some point humans would have evolved to not get fucking sunburned.
You would think.
You right? Like you would genuinely.
I say, I did a whole show on this, and boy, if you think I didn't get some shit on my social media.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to get a ton of shit too.
Because on my social media, what I do to promote my show is every day on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, I post 2, like the ones you saw, 2 little 30-second teasers from the episode. And that the whole reason for that is to try to get people over to Spotify and YouTube to watch the whole program.
Yeah.
But people see those little clips and they think that's my whole message. They don't realize that that's just a promotional clip.
The aliens are white. I said it.
Yeah. And so they heard this shit about, the aliens are white, or the first humans ever created were black, and all the racism shit starts coming in. The blacks are in there yell, oh, we were great. No, we're the greatest. No, that's the exact opposite effect of what I was trying to accomplish with those posts.
The aliens were white because they lived 10 billion miles from the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that they were.
Sure, scientifically speaking, you would have translucent skin if you were that. If we had the same like genetics and anatomy as that Anunnaki, they would be translucent because they'd be getting no vitamin D.
Well, they do get a little bit of sun because their planet does go around the sun, but it's for such a short amount of time that it's really
the rays would be so weak
at
that distance that you're getting almost zero energy from the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I proved that on my show. I told them, I said, they got you talk about anger. Oh, man, the black people were pissed because I said the Anunnaki were white, and the white people were pissed because I said the first humans were black. I mean, just fighting back and forth. At
the same time, that makes sense.
If they'd taken the time to watch the entire episode and got the message I was trying to portray, which that whole episode is about why racism exists, because at some point in time, right around the 1400s, was when the white people began to, for some reason, think that they were superior to the, not all of them, but some of them began to think they were somehow superior to the blacks and other races. And I suggest that the reason for that, and there's a term for it, which I don't have right in front of me here. You have to watch the show, but I lay it all out. It's got something to do with past memories. They were starting. The white gene was starting to remember a time when the white Anunnaki were the slave owners of these black humans, and it all goes back to that. I lay the whole thing out. You'd have to watch the episode.
The term you're looking for is white supremacy.
Well, that's what they think. That's there are white. That's where racism comes from.
Well, I just want to say on the same point. If the Anunnaki were white, it would make sense that if the first people were in Africa for mining gold, and the sun is that strong there, it would just adaptation would give you dark skin.
Well, Homo erectus, the creatures that they created us from, were black. That was a planetary-wide black species.
It makes more sense. So obviously,
if you take a black Homo erectus and add your DNA to it, it's going to turn out to be a black person.
It's a dominant gene. Black,
the dominant gene.
Dark skin and brown eyes are the dominant gene.
Black. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And that's why they were called the dark-headed ones. That was their nickname that the Anunnaki gave them. Well, if the Anunnaki had been black, why in the hell would you call your slaves the dark-headed one? It makes no sense.
They're making a distinction to the species they've created.
Right. Yep.
So, but I could see if someone just scrolling TikTok and they seen a clip that was 10 seconds long, you'd be like, wait a minute.
Oh, God. I'm telling you, it was
Wait a
fierce.
minute.
Yeah, and I just kept telling them, go watch the whole. I ain't got time to go and watch a whole
context.
Context
is not taken into
people want to be
consideration.
outraged. It's just better that way.
Okay, so we got the Anunnaki. They've created humans hundreds of thousands of years ago. They've pulled back, but they still pull the strings like a shadow government. So how do they do that? Like, is it like a?
Well, it's their descendants. You see, I talked about this before. How horny they were.
Yeah.
They love having sex with, at that time anyway, I'm not sure, I'm sure they're still doing it. But anyway, back in the day when they first created humans, they could not stop having sex with human females. They just absolutely adored the human female.
I have to stop. I got a question right here. It's been on my mind for a while. Because Anunnaki, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I've always thought that they were like 10, 12, or like they were tall.
12 feet.
14 feet
Not
tall.
that tall. Nope, I know.
No.
There a lot of people say that. But if they were that huge, the parts wouldn't fit together right, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay. That was my question.
They're only like 7 to 8 feet tall in reality.
7, 8 feet
So
tall.
like NBA players.
Well, the average female 400,000 years ago was probably like 4'7". So it still makes.
I don't know. They made it work.
Tough. I know.
Somehow they made it work.
Well, maybe they just got little fucking peckers,
half Anunnaki, half human.
So much for the superior race.
Yeah, and Anunnaki's like a silverback gorilla. It's got that tiny little fucking.
Because they were creating these offspring who were half human and half Anunnaki. That's where you get that Nephilim and all that. But
what do they call that?
Those
are
biblical terms. They never use those terms.
What terms do they use for that then?
Just their offspring.
They're just Anunnaki.
It's those offspring that are now running the planet.
So
they're
like
human
lineage
beings,
of
technically. They're human beings, but they are the descendants of these Anunnaki.
So the Anunnaki have
the Rothschilds, like Billy Carson. He made the connection. He said,
"So do they have primogeniture? Is it like the oldest son takes over whatever?
Everything is
controls,
everything is what's that word?
And if you're half Anunnaki, you get full control as like a full-blooded Anunnaki, like when they were."
At the start.
Doing what they were doing at the start.
The full Anunnakis ran the show.
Right.
But they would dictate down. They made the first kings were half human, half Anunnaki.
So did they get recognized? Was there a process that like the half Anunnaki, like did they,
why do you think people like the royal family protect their bloodline so much? That's another thing. I mean, you go all around the world, there are these families that have all the money that are very careful about who they breed with and who they allow their children to marry. They protect that bloodline. Why? Because that's the Anunnaki bloodline. That's why they're so concerned about it. They would rather have sex with their own sisters and brothers, some of these people, than to actually go outside the family because they've got to preserve that bloodline. So that's that important.
That's my question continues on that. So if you have an Anunnaki bloodline, do these Anunnaki like offspring, even though they're now mainly human after all these generations, do they have like a form of like telekinesis that they can communicate with their Anunnaki out? Because the Anunnaki must be out at Nibiru or out in space. Like where are they?
No, they got bases all over the planet.
They're still on the planet then.
Oh yeah.
Like,
they're just not.
Are they under the water? Because we always talk about these transmedium
They're underwater.
crafts.
They're on the dark side of the moon. They're on where that whole area, the Four Corners area, 51, and all that crap out there. That's them. They got stuff in. I've seen people talk about. Oh, I saw this craft and it was heading right for this big mountain, and all of a sudden I thought it was going to crash, and it just disappeared. They're inside mountains. You know, I mean,
that's Pine Gap in Australia.
Yeah, wherever they can find a place where humans won't come, they go in there.
So they're still here. They're still pulling the strings from on planet or slightly off planet through their Anunnaki offspring, which are these bloodlines which have continued for now.
Yeah, Billy Carson had a theory. He said, well, you know, the Rothschilds, that's a very wealthy family on planet Earth.
Right?
He said that actually stands for Ra's child, and Amun-Ra was Marduk. Okay, so Ra's child would be where they got that name Rothschild. So I don't know if that's true, but I would believe it. I mean, they got a lot of money. They probably are Anunnaki descendants, I would imagine.
Mad Mark, I got a question here. We've talked about a lot of different cases of UFOs and contactees and experiencers. What are your thoughts on people who like are experiencing having abductions of like different species and different races? Like we've heard of like the tall grays and like reptilians and all those kind of things. How does that fit into the Anunnaki theory?
Okay. Except for the ancient Sumerian texts, which is where I get all of my information from, and hearsay, of course, people will talk.
We love a little
everybody's got a freaking story. You know, that's why I always tell people, don't even believe what I'm saying. Look this crap up for yourself, you know, because everybody's got a line, a story, something they're peddling. You know, if you don't believe what I'm saying, look it up. But getting back to what you were talking about there, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Just what do you think? What do you think about the like different experiencers seeing like reptilians?
Except for the ancient
grays?
Sumerian texts, there is no documented proof of any draconians, none of this others. There's no. It's not written down anywhere that these people exist, and I have to believe that if they did exist, the Anunnaki would have known about them and written about them. So it would have been in those texts, and there is nothing in those texts about any of these other races coming here from anywhere else. No mention about the Pleiades, none of this. And that's one of the areas where Billy Carson and I have issues, because show me where is it in the text where they talk about any of that? It's not there. So again, it's just theories and things like that. My belief is that you've heard people talk about being abducted by Nordic aliens who were maybe 7 to 8 feet tall, very blonde-haired, very white-skinned.
Yeah.
Those are Anunnaki. Yes, absolutely.
So they're a little
shorter than the only ones that I think are abducting anybody. And the reason they're doing it is to it's like if we had a cattle ranch. Occasionally, you'd want to go out and get some specimens to test to make sure that everything's staying pure and the way it's supposed to be, and that everything's going to plan. That's all that is. It's just good medicine. You know, Enki was the great master scientist. You know, it's probably him still up there checking on all these bloodlines.
I feel like some of these people that they're picking up, they're trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Like,
because they always run genetic
why does this guy have no teeth and his eyes are looking opposite directions? Like something would happen. This is a bad mix.
And they may be creating hybrids. I mean, Enki created all kinds of crap. It's all written in like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. He goes into some of that stuff. I mean, he had creatures. I wouldn't be surprised if dragons weren't real. I wouldn't be surprised, because he created all kinds of monsters. He loved to take DNA from different things and create something new. He was always doing that. And a lot of times the shit he created was a monster, destructive, that would rip shit apart. And the humans weren't allowed to kill these creatures because they were created by the gods. So it was hands off. It can destroy your whole damn town. Tough shit. Move somewhere else. You do not kill that creature because God created it. And so they couldn't even kill these creatures he was creating. Oh, it's crazy. The stuff that's in there.
Yeah. Hey, we've kept you for the full hour.
Well, but I caused you to be late. So
Hey, don't.
No, we actually were right on time, to be honest.
Do not apologize for that. We're late literally all the time. So that's nothing on you.
No, you're not
We're
late.
perfect.
You arrive precisely when you mean to.
there you go. There you go. Well, gentlemen, it has been a great pleasure. I must say, I've had an excellent time being here.
Hell yeah, Mad Mark.
Right on.
Where can the people find you? What's the best place to go? Where can they search you up?
Well, the best place to go to find all my stuff is madmarktv.com. That's my website. And on that website, you can find links to my Spotify shows, my YouTube channel. Well, there's all kinds of stuff on there. My Spotify playlists, my album.
You got an album?
Everything
Wait,
is
wait,
there.
wait. Stop. You got an album?
I have an album, yes.
What's it called?
Mad Mark Sings.
Mad Mark Sings.
Let's go.
Oh my god! Can I
better
play one right
title.
now? Mad Mark Sings.
It's actually an album that me and some friends of mine recorded back in 1986, but we never did nothing with it because we didn't have the funds to get it out to the, so it just laid there and died. So I thought, hey, why not bring that back? I'll rename it Mad Mark Sings and we'll start
Song of the
peddling
week.
it.
Song of the week.
Yeah, so-
Mad Mark Sings. What's your favorite song off the album? I'm gonna give it a shout out.
Lindendale Park. Absolutely.
Lindendale Park, track 1 off Mad Mark Sings on Spotify or wherever you listen to music.
Hey,
Go check it out.
Go check this guy's stuff out. He's
Who
blown
are
up.
the
It's
aliens?
awesome.
The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. Mad Mark TV. All that good shit. We'll make sure to include all that stuff in the podcast description.
Am I going to get a link to see the copy or so I can watch this show
100%.
back?
Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
if you could share it with your followers and stuff, that we'd appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, we'll make sure to send you
And
everything you need.
anytime you want to come back on, open invitation.
Oh, you just asked me. Anytime. I've had a great time. I'll do this anytime you want.
Perfect.
We're gonna have
Right
Mad
on,
Mark on
dude.
speed dial here pretty quick.
That'd be great.
We got a question.
Mad Mark, we got one
Yeah,
question
yeah,
about
Mad
Anunnaki
Mark.
here.
Gentlemen, anytime. Just contact you. You know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah,
anytime. I'd be more
Cheers,
than happy
brother.
to talk to you.
All right,
It's
just stay on the line for a second. I'm going to end the stream. We're going to make sure your audio uploads, and we're going to come back with after hours for everyone else listening. Thank you very much. Peace.
Keep those eyes on the skies.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.